Getting into product management is hard. Climbing up the ladder is hard as well. But guess what? Building a product team, that may be the most challenging task of all. At that point, it's not only your product that you're responsible. All of a sudden, it's about also the careers of other people. All of a sudden, hiring the right talent for the job versus hiring someone who is not suited for the job can affect, well, everyone. And it doesn't stop there. It goes all the way down to actually training the people on the team and helping them to function together as a cohesive unit. Getting to know how to hire and build product teams is not only going to increase your chances of becoming the best PM you can be, now you have the chance to create a better version of your product, of your team, and ultimately of the entire company. Hello, leaguers, and welcome to today's Ask Me Anything, the place where talented, curious product managers just like you get to ask us anything. And today, it's all about hiring and building product teams. By the way, I'm Maria Cassis, founder and general manager of Product League. And what we do at Product League is helping you to become the best product manager you can be. Product League is an international mentoring program for product managers by product managers in 30 countries. We operate in 30 countries and we want to get to know you better. So please go ahead and type your name and geographic location at the comments because we want to make it into our little product party just together. And now we've got 3 talented, dedicated, and experienced Product League mentors who are going to join us and answer all your questions, all your wonders, big and small, about hiring and building product teams. Guys, you're at the right place. First, joining us to the stage from Berlin, let's welcome Carsten Bokemeyer, Head of Product Management at Greater and Product League Mentor. What's up, Carsten? Unmute yourself because we want to hear you. I'm going to unmute you. I can't unmute you. So you should unmute yourself. You did it.
Sorry.
No worries. What's up?
Yeah, so I'm fine. What about you?
I'm great, super happy and excited to have you here with us. So just a little bit about Carsten. Carsten started to build product teams just in 2009, but since then he did an amazing job when he discovered his passion for agile product development, and since then has gained experience as product owner, team leader, scrum master, as well as head of product. His work is focused on the topics of product management, product ownership, scrum, and leadership that has much to do with what we're going to discuss today. Obviously, is also a mentor on our program, and I'm super excited to have you here with us. Are you ready? Are you excited to join us?
Yeah, I'm totally looking forward to it, and can't wait to start.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Carsten. See you in just a few, because now we are moving to Tel Aviv. And please shout out a big hello to David Habusha, Senior Vice President of Product at Iron Skills and Product League Mentor. If I'm not mistaken, for the 4th time, I think you're a mentor.
It's probably 6 or 7. Oh yeah.
Well, you're one of our best, and you are obviously with us for a long time. So it's just perfect to have you here with us on our stage. It's such an honor, and for everyone to know why I'm so excited to have you here with us. So David is a product executive with extensive background in taking new ideas to market. He's passionate about translating market requirements into product and technologies, and he's identified, defined, and executed products and services in open source, security, consumer, database management, enterprise software, system management, and even cloud computing domains. That's a lot. So many domains. I'm sure you'll have, many stories, interesting stories to share with us today from all this long experience. And I'm excited to have you here with us.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Exactly right. And we're going to see you in just a few. And now we are going to Canada, to Alberta, Canada, with last but not least, the fabulous Lance Douglas, Group Product Manager at Vitruvi Software and Product League Mentor. Lance, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Absolutely happy to be here, Mariah.
So happy to have you here with us. Guys, learn a little bit about Lance because he's such a guy that is focused on how to do things, and his way of doing things is to be accomplished about so many disciplines at the same time. He's multidisciplines professional with extensive experience bringing teams, products, markets together, and he is also a somewhat of a career coach that is so relevant to the subject we are going to discuss today. So together with his proven tech record, leading global groups with disparate stakeholders with different technologies and market and segments and creating the products around that, together with his knowledge about how to build a career that you like, we are here with the right group of people to discuss how to hire the right PMs for your team and how to build product teams that actually work to create something unique and valuable together. I hope that my face expression shows how much I'm excited about this opportunity, Lance. So thank you so much for joining us. And this is the time. So happy. And this is the time, if I may, to call the other guys to the stage, to the floor, and I'll tell you guys how is it going to work. So when the audience registered to the event, we gave them the opportunity to ask us and you anything about hiring and building product teams. From those questions, we chose the most frequently asked questions, but also those that were most interesting, those that we think that bring the highest value and your special know-how into the discussion. So we're going to go over these questions. We're going to give the audience the answers and the reply they're looking for, but it doesn't stop there, because then we'll also have an open Q&A where these 3 experienced product league mentors will answer your questions that you submit in the chat right now, because this is a live session. So everyone in the audience, you've got 2 call to actions. 1, we want to get to know you better, and we want you to follow us on social media, so you'll be invited to our special event just like this one. Please make sure to like this video, share it with your colleagues. Maybe you want to comment with your own question. Show us some social media love so more of your colleagues and friends will get to know about what we do. And of course, follow us and subscribe so we will get in touch with you. And then submit your questions in the chat, because as I mentioned earlier, at the end of the part of the session where we go over the questions that were already submitted, we'll also have an open Q&A, and we can't wait to give you all the answers that you need in order to become the best product manager you can be. Carsten, Lance, David, what do you say? Are we ready to teach the audience how to hire and build product teams?
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, it is. I'm loving the spirit. Perfect. So we are starting with the next question. Okay, this is the first one for now. It comes from, I really hope I pronounce the name the right way, Videhi. Okay, and they're asking, how can a well-rounded team be built? So how can we build a team that is well-rounded, and what are the kind of skills and other things that you look for at that team? This question is so important. It's such a valuable one that actually all of our mentors, all of our panelists are now going to answer it, because it's going to be super interesting and valuable. And we start with you, David. So what do you think? What are the things that will allow everyone in the audience to build a well-rounded team?
So, a well-rounded team is part of an ideal world in which we don't really live in. I believe personally that product manager needs to be well-rounded in nature. You should be born well-rounded, and I prefer to have a team of well-rounded product managers rather than constantly trying to balance my team, because there's a lot of changes happening, a lot of ownerships moving from one product manager to the other. People leave the team, people join the team, and then this balance of well-rounded team does not exist anymore. And when you form a team, you don't really know how independent these individuals are, and what their skill set may be after a few months. Then when I do that, I kind of think of the potential of those people to be well-rounded, to have both the skills to work on detailed tasks, to work on customer engagements, working with stakeholders in the company. And one thing that I often do is I'm looking internally in the companies that I work in, because there's always opportunity for an internal shift from people who really want to become product managers, and they now work in the customer success team, SEs, and even R&D. I mean, I had a lot of product managers joining the team from the R&D team, that they have the right motivations and the right excitement to do that. And then by that, you're bringing different type of skill sets into your team, and then you can balance it a bit internally. But again, I'm looking for the potential, looking for being well-rounded in nature, and not necessarily constantly trying to balance the team. One thing that I'd like to add is that the advantage of shifting or repurposing internal staff to becoming product managers is that you already know them. You know how they work, you interact with them, so you have a lot of knowledge that you don't have with external candidates. So that gives you a lot of an advantage.
So we've learned two things. One, if you're a product manager, sometimes or oftentimes you're pessimistic, and we're not going to hear a cheerful answers from you. This is one. And second is the best way to turn resources into valuable resources. Following your reply, David, it's sometimes the right choice to look at internal candidates over external candidates. So we'll have a more rounded team. I love it. Thank you very much. In just about a minute, we're going to share a few tips and resources and link in the comments. So everyone in the audience, look for it, because Lance and David and Carsten created a wonderful list of items for you guys to look at. Thank you very much, David. And now, Carsten, what do you think about the subject?
Yeah, so over the last couple of months, as I worked in a personal development company, so personality types, for example, became much more important to me. And they are also a really good sign to balance a team, so that you really have different kind of personalities in a team. So they are not all kind of the same, but they are really different. But they can, help each other out, and also be, as David also mentioned, like being really well-rounded, so that you really can help out everywhere. So I would say that this is really important. And also what's really important is the empathy, not only for the users, to understand the user, but also to understand your teammates, their personal behaviors and their ideas, so that you really, being empathic is a really big skill you need definitely as a product manager. And so I worked with product managers from the outside, which we recruited on the market, but also worked a lot with product managers inside the company. So the best product managers I worked with came from the customer success department, because they have a really big sense of what's going on the market, what are the problems of the users. So they are really, really great. So you can help them in becoming the hard skills, like you need all the time, but really understand the customer and getting to know the problems. It's one of the key skills. So I would also rather hire someone from inside the company than from the outside. But it depends a little bit on the team itself. So but this would be my.
I'm sorry, I sense a theme here. We're going to see if Lance is actually agreeing with both of you, David and Carsten. But wise words. Thank you very much, Carsten. Lance, what do you think?
Well, I think I'm just going to say the same thing. They're both very experienced.
Product managers unite. Yeah.
Exactly right. I think one of the interesting things in taking the career coaching side, right, and using that as a product and helping organizations come up with say an inventory of leadership that they can go to for hard problems, when they need certain types of, say target team tasks done or tiger team tasks done. They know a certain group of people that can go and do that detail. You have to actually first have an organization that's ready for that, right? So being able to have a well-rounded team might be great. I really quite often go back to Sandy Pentland's from MIT, his research on what makes really good high-performing teams. And the first thing is that they're a team, right? And that they are afforded the ability to perform as a team, work it and interact with each other on hopefully a day-to-day basis. With our remote world as it is right now, you have to put that effort in. I'd take it a step further and say that exactly like David and Carsten were saying, you really need to have an understanding of the people on your team and care about them. You have to have an organization that cares about your results and cares about the fact that you're going to say no a lot of the time, and that they are affording those teams to go and collectively come up with the most diverse perspective to get the best answer for the company as quick as possible, right? Because I think a lot of companies come together and they say, yeah, we want a well-rounded product team. Go grab 15 people that have this skill set, put them in a room and say, okay, you each have a piece of the organization or a piece of the application. Go for it, go forth and come back with good answers. Well, that doesn't really work that way. That's not really a team. That's trying to engineer research, right? And it doesn't really work that way. And so I think you need to have a well-rounded organization that then really diverse team, and those teams work together to deliver on that answer. And like you said, quite often the answer is no, right? Quite often it's not the answer that you're actually looking for, but you at least know that you have the best people looking at it for you.
I'm loving it. Thank you very much, Lance. Thank you very much, three of you guys. We are moving on to the next question. The links that we mentioned earlier are going to be mentioned in the comments. So everyone in the audience, make sure to click on them and to learn even further about what our magnificent mentors just mentioned. Carsten, Prashant has a question from you, Prashant. And they're asking how to evaluate candidates' execution potential. So this is one of the very first steps when we're looking into hire someone. How can we know if they are bad, they are good, they are going to suit the needs of the company? What is the way to do that?
Yeah, so most of the times I confront candidates with a really in-depth idea of a problem I would have, and ask them to deliver some ideas or deliver some question marks they would have in their mind when starting with working on that problem, so that they're really confronted with a real-life example where you can get an understanding on which questions they are asking, how they proceed, what are the first steps to go. So a real-life example is all the time the best thing to evaluate how a product manager will solve your problem, because that is something they should do in the end. And
I highly agree. And I wonder, guys, thank you very much, Carsten. I think this was spot on, because this is a question that was submitted, I think, by 3 different people in the audience. I wonder, David and Lance, if you have anything to add on Carsten's thoughts, just from your experience.
There's some organizations that part of their hiring process is to assign an exercise to the product manager, like, write a requirements document or do a market research or prepare a presentation. I think this is very synthetic, and I agree with Carsten that looking at the real life example from past work of that product manager is much better than giving a synthetic example, the domain of the problem, or understanding the full size of the problem in the area is not in the hands of that product manager. So definitely a very good point.
Yeah, I would add one little quick thing to that. One thing that I found out when I was building an APM program is when setting up the interview or looking at internal employees on seeing about moving them into product, is seeing if you can set up your interview in a way that you're digging down to the uncomfortably specific level. If I was to use Kristen Berman's kind of term, right? Get down to that uncomfortably specific details about a solution, whether it's yours or some fictitious one, to see how real and true their empathy is, and how that they can relate that to other perspectives they've had in their life. Because if they can get down to that detail and they can tie passion and find relativity, then you'll be able to understand, okay, they fit in this lane from a perspective, and diversity into our team on that perspective would be really highly valued. So we know what we want to be able to draw that person, so that when they're picking projects or we're pushing them onto projects to work on, that we're thinking about what they were passionate about and how they can relate things in work. I think you can help people be really good executors if you understand them well too.
And this way it goes beyond the generic answer, right?
That's right.
It actually getting to be about the person, about their perception, of how to deal with emotions and situations at work. Loving it very much. Thank you very much, dear viewers. Staying with you, Lance, because Stephanie has a question to you, and she is asking, under what circumstances are generalist PMs are more effective than specialists? What are the circumstances in which the results will be different?
That question is to me?
Yes.
Awesome.
Am I mistaken? No, it is for you. It is to you.
I'm so happy to have this question because I get to use the standard product management answer. It depends, right?
Oh.
So I get to be the first one to say that.
You got me fooled. Yep.
Yep. Really, I think it depends on the organization. It depends if you're a B2B, B2C, where the value is in your organization. If you're building a social enterprise, for an example, then the types of PMs that you want might be generalist, but you want to, this goes right back to everything that all three of us have been saying the whole time. You really need to understand, be empathetic. You need to find diversity and such like that, where the generalist might be easier because you're really looking for that external, something you can't really train for type of perspective. If you're in a B2B kind of space, maybe it's in banking, aerospace, or construction, then the ability to understand the challenges that the customers will have and how they'll be able to extract value, not just simply by saying, hey, this would be more valuable, but rather understanding their day-to-days and how they interact with other aspects of the industry or their work life. I think that does take some expertise. I think that can be taught. But if you can get people that are more specialists in understanding those types of details, that it's more of a corporate environment or an enterprise purchase. Complexity in those cases sometimes are a feature, not a bug, right? And so really being able to understand how important that is, you probably want to go more on a specialist side. But I would say it absolutely depends, because if you go back to exactly what Carsten was saying in his last answer, if you get the right guy or the right girl, and they have a real good product management sense, they should be able to work on any project, right? And even if they are a generalist, you can teach that specificity if necessary, and they're going to draw your company upwards no matter what.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're staying with you for just a little bit more, because can you please remind Lauren and all of us the name of the researcher at MIT that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, Sandy Pentland. I think Sandy is his nickname. I don't remember what his actual first name is. But yeah, if you just look up Sandy, Sandy, Pentland, Pentland, that's pretty much the top research. You can find him on Harvard Business School's website as well for a little bit more summary of his detail. There's a lot of work out there, but it's really about teams. So if anything, high-performing teams, Sandy Pentland, you'll see all the statistics and data.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I want to remind everyone in the audience that we are waiting for you to show us some product love. Please like this video, subscribe to us if you watch us on YouTube, follow us if you watch us on LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever you are, we are there. Just make sure to show us some product love, like and share the video. And we are now staying with this awesome subject of how to hire the right people to your team, but we're changing the angles. We're going over a different angle with a question that comes from Ramon. It goes to you, David, and he's asking, how do you balance the hiring of senior PMs and juniors?
I see that questions about balancing are repeatedly coming up in this session. And balancing is a hard task because again of the ever-changing environment. And this goes back to the same questions about a well-rounded team. I would start with a core senior team that's ready to grow. So they start a little below or equivalently to their previous roles in the previous companies, but they can grow to a role that's bigger than what they used to do in the previous company, and add a mix of less experienced PMs later. And I'm not using the term junior PMs because to me, every product manager is senior. There's this notion of managing or executing cross-functional processes. So as a PM, you really have to be able to work with a lot of stakeholders. You need to execute your requirements and processes across the board. So you can't be somebody who's junior. You can be less experienced, coming from a little bit senior role in a different area like engineering, customer success, etc. And then it becomes more of a question of how do I balance the mentoring time of the senior staff or myself with the less experienced product managers. And I'm in most of my teams, I did hire a few less experienced product managers because I knew that my senior staff or myself, we have the right time and skills to train them and to onboard them and to provide them with the right mentorship. And within a few weeks or very few months, they became independent. And to me, from that moment on, they're senior already. So now it's becoming whether I should have junior or less experienced PMs or not.
I love what you just mentioned, David. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because I think this is an important topic. Okay, let's stay here for a little longer. What you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that actually in order to be a product manager per se, okay, we don't even put a senior or junior, whatever to it. In order to be a product manager, there is a certain level of responsibility to the product that is required, this minimum responsibility, a level of responsibility that is required.
Right.
And unless the person is right for the job, right for the challenge, right for the task, and it can handle this level of responsibility, there is actually no reason to have them on the team and call them a product manager.
Right. And have you ever seen a person that has a title of a junior product manager? I haven't seen that. It's
It's a myth.
It will not be. Yeah. No, it will not be seen as somebody who can really drive cross-functional processes in the company. So, to me, I mean, everybody that's becoming a product manager needs to have a certain title and a certain type of skills that they can run those processes and they can actually be valued by the cross-functional teams. So again, they may need some mentoring. I would usually, put them on a maybe smaller first task, but then just throw them into the water or whatever you call it to a bigger task that any other senior PM would do, and mentoring them without maybe even the other stakeholders knowing that they're being mentored. But if they can't do it, they can't be product managers. So to me, at that point, once they completed their first big task, they're seniors as well.
Super interesting. Lance, what do you think about that?
I love it. I have this term I've been saying for a long time, get rid of this everyone's in sales concept. Everyone's in product, right? Absolutely everybody in the company is in product. I'm working on something about everybody's a CPO, but I won't bring that up on here. But I really love it, right? Like if we don't have an organization, and this is really about being a product-led and product mindset kind of organization, if the company doesn't actually put the product team as central intelligence, trust them to actually go out and get that value and figure out the proper ways to deliver it, and realize that every engineer, every salesperson, every marketing person, they're all in product. If you don't take that mindset on, it's going to be a struggle no matter what. So I love that. Yeah, no.
Loving it as well. Carsten?
Yeah, so I would say David mentioned a lot of stuff. I would do it the same. So mentoring is one of the key points. And
in mentoring, we trust, guys. Okay, mentoring matters. Mentoring matters. That mentoring is a big deal. Continue, please.
Yeah, so give the product managers some responsibilities and a clear area where they can have an influence on, and then try to mentor them as good as possible, so that they really can grow into that position. Because in the end, it's really important also that all of the people in the company could help in regards to this. So as Lance mentioned, everyone is in product, also when they're in sales. So it's a different thing to have different opinions and different things for a new PM, so that you really can grow with different opinions and deal with them.
It's lovely seeing how we have 3 product professionals from distinct areas of the world. We have Berlin, we have Canada, we have Tel Aviv, and somehow your experience, although it was in different domains, in different companies, and in different areas of the world, led all of you 3 to think quite of the same way about training people in the company and recognizing talent and putting, titles into people and directing a team and a company, because everyone is a product, right? In a company to create product that matters. And it's actually absolutely amazing to me seeing how we are united about our profession, even though we have different experiences. And we have Ramon here, the person who asked the question, submitted the question, saying junior PMs are actually quite common in many companies. That's correct. And some companies need to onboard these people into product. Otherwise, no new product managers can be born. And I think it goes to what you guys mentioned here, because mentoring, as all of you mentioned, and having the whole team, the whole company united around the idea of making sure that everyone have the opportunity and the skills and the know-how to put their skills into the product. That's a big deal of what we do. And yes, in mentoring with trust, that's very much the truth. And we are now moving on to the next question. Yes, of course, let's.
Can I add to that? Like responding to Ramon there.
Yes.
I think it ties right into what David was saying. You don't hire people to be juniors, right? It doesn't really matter what the title is. You give them responsibility and drive them forward to being experts. And I'll just give you a real quick example. I took on some APMs recently, and what I realized is that to be able to honestly, from a product team, say that we don't know everything, instead of teaching the APMs our product, I said, go learn our market. Come back to us and challenge us and tell us where we're right, where we're wrong, what we're not doing well, what we could be doing better. And so it really gives them the ability to grow as leaders, even though some of them, it's their first time ever being in product management. We saw that they had the right mindset, the right empathy, and the right stuff. So I'm mentoring them on going out and seeking that information, but they are leaders in that product space. And so even though they're called an APM, in some places we call it a junior, their task is a senior role for what they're doing. It's just less responsibility on what's going out to the customer at the moment. I guess that would probably be it.
Because otherwise they can't serve as product managers.
That's right.
Can I add something to that?
Of course, you are here exactly for that.
So my comment was just about, not calling them the junior product managers. You don't call a salesperson a junior salesperson, or an engineer a junior engineer. You just call them an engineer or a salesperson or a senior or director or whatever. It's just that, if somebody works with somebody who's called a junior product manager, they may not be respectful to what they're doing. I'm not a title person, but I think that, since it's so, the role is so important and so central in the company, calling somebody junior would not serve the purpose. So intern is fine, if somebody's coming for an internship, or, just a product manager is also fine. But starting with a junior title, I just think it's not the right way. That's my own opinion, sorry.
Title responsibility with the title. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. And we're staying with you, David. Thank you very much for this comment. And we're staying with you because Daron has a question too, and they're asking, how do you integrate product managers and designers under a single vice president?
Yeah, that's an interesting kind of how you build large product teams in large organizations. So in every product team, you will have designated product managers, senior directors, that's responsible for areas or parts of the products or product lines, different names. Sometimes if you work in squads, then they may be responsible for different areas at different times. but it will always be kind of a shared service providers, I would call them, like a technical writer, or a product designer or a UX person. So you don't have a dedicated product designer for every product manager or a dedicated technical writer. So and then it becomes kind of a game of how do you prioritize between the different product managers? How do you prioritize the tasks that you want to give those shared service providers? I don't have a better word for it, but those are like people in the product team. Like I even have the training manager in my team. I have a UX writer in my team that they will give services to all of the product managers in the team. So those people need to have kind of like a basic knowledge of everything in the product, but they can be as good as the dedicated product managers. And the idea is that there's multiple ways of going around it. One, if you go the agile Scrum way, then you have a backlog of product design items. You have like a product backlog, bugs backlog, and design backlog. And then when you go and prioritize the design backlog, there's a synchronization meeting between the product managers that determine the priorities. And they need to agree about that, because everything that they need, even from an R&D, so we have one backend team. What goes first in the backend team? That's the same question, right? So we would usually agree on the internal priorities, and then allow the product designer or designers work according to those priorities. In other areas where you run squads or design sprints, then you have a designer dedicated to a specific task, and it's much easier. But then you have to kind of be on a larger scale and be on a different working methodology that works in squads and in design sprints, so that the product designer is moving from one task to another in every sprint. So it depends on the way your organization is structured. I believe that the first way that I suggested is probably fits more organizations. But if you're like really extreme and goes into squads and design sprints, then the answer is in your workflows and processes already.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you very much. Anything to add, guys? Carsten, Lance?
Carsten, you want to add anything?
No, I don't want to add anything. So
I think David covered it really well.
A perfect answer, David. Thank you very much. And we're going to talk about loose PMs. Lance, Ligor is asking you, as a team leader, how do you handle loose PMs on your team?
Yeah, and cross organizational, right? Like, how do you manage across organization as well, right? So I think it kind of falls in the same sort of space. I think, I'll use an analogy first, right? If you go and ship a product and it's a beautiful product, but sales is not enabled to execute on it, marketing's not enabled to communicate with it, support's not enabled to be able to handle it, right? All of these different things, it doesn't matter how great your product is, it's going to fail, right? Because you have to enable. Product doesn't stop at saying, I know what the problem is. Product actually goes all the way out to saying, I know how to measure value in the end. And getting there means there's a bunch of little steps about enabling everybody to be able to deliver that, enabling customers to buy it. Same sort of thing happens on the product management team, right? You have to be able to enable the organization to communicate with you. You have to enable them to see, maybe not the sausage factory, as somebody would call it, right? Of how the product management team came up with a specific metric that they're trying to go after. If anybody in the company wants to dive into that, they should be able to see that. It shouldn't be necessarily a time suck, right, from a product management perspective. But if everybody's in product and you actually believe that, then you have to enable everybody in the organization. And so when somebody comes to you with an idea, if you haven't enabled them in a way to communicate that to you effectively, what's the context? What's the minimum context I need? Where do you think this is a problem? Is this something that we said we're going to do, but we haven't done? Is this something that the market is trending towards that we didn't see, right? Where are you coming to me with this data as maybe a loose PM or a different organization, group in the organization? How are you giving that information to me? If I haven't given you a way to do that, and I haven't communicated that, then I'm failing. I'm failing the organization. So now I have to deal with the mess that I've made, right? And so if I'm not building that out, same way as if you don't enable your product to be bought, sold, or communicated, right? So I would probably look at, once you've done that and you've taken it's going to probably take a couple exercises and trying to figure out what that proper communication management channel is and what really matters in your domain and where your product is. I think you kind of have to go back to what type of organization do you have, right? So using Clay Christensen's concept of the different types of innovation, are you a sustaining innovation? Are you like an IBM working on an ERP that's been out for 25 years? And you just really have to build a product team that's incrementally staying ahead of the market? Or are you more in a innovation space? So maybe you're an Uber, right? Where you're taking something that already exists and you're just shifting it over one category of either business or consumer or supplier kind of thing. Or is it really disruptive? Like Airbnb, right? Where they're saying, hey, let's change the whole paradigm on how people seek and interact with assets that they can borrow, right? So depending on how your organization is, you're really gonna have to think about how you come in and receive that information, but then how you action it, right? The same sort of way that you're communicating back to your customers with support, saying, hey, I've got these 15 tickets. I've been able to identify that it's actually this problem in their space that they're having a problem with. It doesn't matter how your application is failing. Their job that they're trying to get done isn't actually being able to get done. You have to be able to communicate back to those customers in the same way that you have to be able to communicate back to your team. I'm working on it. I'm not working on it. And this is why. This is, where we're seeking more information. And this is the final sentence on it, giving them the opportunity that if you take that information in clearly and they know where it's going to go, you enable them or empower them to actually go back out and get more information for you, right? So the engineering team comes and says, hey, we're actually thinking about this. Wouldn't customers want this more? They might be correct. We don't know. Let's take that through a train. Can you do anything in the application? Like, where did you as an engineer come up with that thought? Oh, well, I just noticed when I was working on some code here, some of the metrics I was using to see if the function worked correctly actually showed me something. Awesome. Maybe we haven't been capturing that metric correctly. Can we go build that out? Can you go capture that? Can you give me an idea of what that needs to look like? So it needs to be a two-way street, and it has to start with product management setting that up first.
May I challenge you a little? Are you up for a challenge? Okay.
Always.
So one of the things that we mentioned over and over on this session is the fact that it's not just about the hard skills, it's also about the soft skills, which I very much agree with. Okay, and you just mentioned communication as one of the enablers for a team to be bigger than just the product managers within it, but also everyone that we work with, right? R&D and marketing and sales and support and whoever. Can you give the audience and everyone here a tip or two on how to better communicate with, I call them product enablers?
Yep. Okay,
people that work with us, not necessarily have the product management title to their job, but they are very much tied. Their work is very much tied with what we want to deliver.
Sure. So it all goes back to having the right organization set up, right? And having the communication open and then making it as seamless as possible. And it could just be a template, right? But then you got to go next step further. You need to build a psychologically safe environment. If you look at Kim Scott's book on radical candor, right? Being able to, the organization-wide understands that, hey, we're all about the product, we're all about customer value, how we get there, we don't care, that's what we got to deliver. That when the conversations start happening to you, that everybody has some sort of agreement. The culture of the organization is, hey, we're trustworthy first, or hey, we're always the customer, lowest cost, have to get the customer no matter what. Whatever the culture is, that is the basis for that communication. And that you have the ability to say, you're coming to me with information, but you're expecting me to go and take that, but you haven't done your back job, right? So if you're in sales and you're saying, hey, customers want this, which customers, how many, what value is that? You as a salesperson know how much of your funnel that is, right? And being able to honestly say, does that really fit into what you're providing me? Or are you asking me to do all the work that you're suggesting, hey, I'm missing some work here, right? So once you have that, you can really take that further and you can kind of manage upwards, right? You can basically say, I've laid out this template, people, or I've laid out this process for communicating with product so that we can make it move as fast as possible, as effective as possible towards customer value. If you're skipping the queue on that or driving that, right, a VP or EVP or even a C-suite comes and says, hey, we need to focus on that, you can come back and go, absolutely. I need to figure out what not to do, right? So you need to be able to go through. And even if I sit with the C-suite and go, hey, it seems like we got this new priority we heard about from the board because we just noticed this shift because someone went to Mars, came back with new technology, right? We can go in and we can say, that's great, guys. Now let's get back down to the level and say, how do I, as a product manager, move this forward? Don't destroy my ability to deliver for us by you guys skipping the queue going forward. And so you can generate the soft skills around that by empowering them and say, I have empowered you to help me do my job. And then you just need to be honest with yourself and help them realize they can't skip the queue or everything's going to fall down that's further down the queue.
I love them. Enable them to enable your product and your work. Loving it. Love it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we have one more question that was submitted before we went live, submitted by the audience. But before we'll go to this question, I want to remind the audience that we have two call to actions. One, not just to like the video and to subscribe, but also look at the comments, because we just shared a list of valuable resources for you. The guys here took their favorite reads and articles, and we've put it into links and share with you, so you will have even more to read and to listen to and become the best product manager you can be. Also, if you follow us, you know that next week we have the most interesting and important event of this season. We call it PMing for a Better World, where product managers from the league help organizations, not-for-profit organizations, tackle the product management challenges. So we also invite the community to join us. Please look for the link to it in the comments, because we want to have you there. So apply to join us and submit questions, because we already have amazing questions submitted in the chat, and we will go by them and answer them in just a few. But we also have some extra time to answer, I think, 2 more questions. So if you'll submit your question now, you may be the lucky person to have all their questions answered by these guys. So these are your call to actions. With no further ado, Carsten, Ido is asking you, how do you define and maintain product responsibility and boundaries between managers of different aspects of one product?
Yeah, so we experienced a lot over the last couple of years with something called domain-driven design. So to really have components of the product or aspects of the product you can really put together in one domain and separate these domains from each other, so that they can really run really autonomous, not only on a technical perspective, but also on a product perspective. So what is really part of my domain, and when there are different product managers, then they really know their area of influence, and they really know also their expertise and their people they have to ask for to really work on that component of the product. And as well, we did something for to come to decisions. So we invested a lot of time in how we can come to the best decisions and what is the exact process. So we used a lot of different ideas, like, for example, consent. So how we really come to decisions also as a product team, so that and what we also used a lot was delegation poker, so that everyone in the team is really aware of in which area I can take my decisions on my own, where we have to take decisions together, or where we have to compromise to come to a compromise at the end before we can decide, or where we have to go for a talk with a VP or something else to get more opinions on the topic. So the delegation poker also helps us a lot in getting clarity around what I'm supposed to decide on my area of product.
So less question marks and more clarity. That's always good. Thank you very much, Carsten. And I think, guys, that we are ready to go into the live Q&A. What do you say? Are we ready?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Okay, so before we even go into the questions, there is somewhat of a question that was submitted here by Lauren from YouTube, and she's on our YouTube channel. She's asking, Lance, before you mentioned the aspiring PMs that you hired. So what were the backgrounds of them?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So one was actually internal. We took somebody from our support group that knew our product inside and out. And also we took an external person that was previously a founder of a company and engineer. And so by bringing those two together, and it's very interesting because we have to unlearn what the product is from the support team member that came over, and have to unlearn our product so that they can go out and understand the market. And then they could also help the person that's coming in that doesn't know our market understand nuances, finer nuances as they're going out and discover. So we tried the both internal and external to see if we can see the value of the two of those working together in the team.
And what was the conclusion?
So we're a few months into that so far. It's interesting. You know, sometimes as leaders, you instantly spot people that you could leapfrog you as you build them up, and that's the best thing you could possibly see, right? One PM that came on, I was like, awesome. I want to see how I can make him director, even if I don't get to director in this organization. How do I make them the director in this organization? Because I think they're keen. You know, looking at our PMs and that kind of stuff, or sorry, APMs, and the knowledge that they're getting of the market and the little fine nuances. Even though I come from the industry in the past for a decade or so, it just warms my heart thinking that probably within a few weeks, if not already, they know more about certain aspects of it than I don't. And so that's really as PM leadership, what we want is diverse understanding, but the ability for those people to challenge us and say, I actually don't think it works that way. I actually think that based on this data, our customers actually find value this way, right? And so it's still going, but it's absolutely promising so far.
Spot on. The best TM you can build is one that knows more than you.
Absolutely.
And we are continuing with another question. It comes from our audience on LinkedIn. And Cyrus is asking, how can an individual contributor PM go to the next level of management or leadership? So you are one product manager at the company. Basically, it means that this is a startup, right? And you are the only product manager on the team. How can you climb up the ladder? Who wants to start?
I'll take it. I think that if you are the sole product manager in your company, you're already influencing management and you're already in a leadership position. You may not be titled as one, or you may not be considered as one, but the overall responsibility of being the sole product manager is huge. And I think that if you do the right communications with management, if you communicate successes, if you are able to execute cross-functional processes successfully, if you are able to generate a lot of value from your product, then this will be encouraged and seen by your leadership and management. And this is the time for having, if all of this happens, this is the time to have a kind of a hard conversation with your leadership or management on your career path and why do they see you as an individual contributor and not as part of management or leadership. But you have to prove that you're goals to be one of the management or leadership persons in your company.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, David. The next question, it comes from Tal from our YouTube channel, and they're asking, would love to get your ideas on way to attract senior director of product candidates to work with you when these people can compete for VP roles in other potentially smaller companies. Okay, so as we all know, when a startup is quite small, the opportunity to offer titles with higher seniority is bigger, and sometimes what may direct potential candidates in their choice of the next position is the title. So when you can only offer director for while other companies or startups, smaller ones probably, can offer the title of a VP, how do you still attract the right people for the job? I'm curious to learn what you have to say. Who wants to answer this question from top?
I take the first crack at it. I'm just looking up the name of the person, Mark Suster, as an example. I would take it in the sense that if you look at Mark Suster's salesman, right, there's a journey, maverick, superstar, and person you would want to hire. You have to think about your startup as a product, right? Everything is a product in my world. But you have to really think about where does that person want to go, and can your business build him? But not only that, is your business ready for him, right? You might be able to take on somebody that's a superstar product manager, but if you haven't built up the rest of the organization that's going to be able to allow them to enable product-led growth or product-led mindset in the organization, they're going to be frustrated and leave anyways, right? And so you have to make sure that your organization is ready for that. Why would somebody that would get a VP at, say, a FANG or some other large organization want to come work at your organization as a director, or even just as the first individual contributor where the CEO or the CTO is still driving product? It really comes down to the passion of what you're doing, right? If you look at Simon Sinek's, people don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it. And I don't think people work for organizations as a PM, I think, right? Especially in leadership, for what you're selling, it's why, right? So what is the culture of your organization? What's the opportunity in the market? Can I grow as a person, as that leader in your organization and help to guide it and direct it, right? So you really have to look at those three aspects. Can your business support the value they will bring? Can those people grow and where they want to grow? And then combined, will that actually work on a day-to-day basis of enablement and communication?
Loving it. Loving very much. Anything to add, Carsten, David?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would say it's not only a matter of the title itself, because it's also a really big point of how much is my area of influence, how I can grow as a person, and also what is my freedom in just aspire the vision of the product, or how I can really influence the vision. So I would say this is much more important than having a title at the end, because I can answer like Lance did, like it depends, because in some companies you always have a senior product manager, that's the highest rank in the product organization, because that's the only one. Then you have bigger ones where you are a head of or a VP or something like that. But in the end, it depends on the size of the company. But I would say it's more a matter of freedom and area of influence, which could attract people than only a job title.
Yeah, so make sure to mention that when you are in the process of interviewing the person and meeting with them, make sure to emphasize on this point and not just on the titles. Thank you very much, Carsten. David.
Yeah, I think it's almost solely up to you as a VP or a senior VP, and the way the hiring process looks like. So if you provide the confidence that this person has the right influence, and what I would usually do is, if you are a senior director, and the next step for you would be to be a VP, if not in this company, then in the next company, because this is what you're looking for. Then let's give you the right tools and exposure to reduce the risk of being a VP in your next company. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to expose you to pretty much everything. Let's have a direct channel to the CEO, kind of, even taking a risk on myself as a VP, but giving you all the tools and all the necessary experience to become VP in your next role. And I think that people, when they do this jump, it's a risk, and they want to reduce that risk. And if you give them the right tools to be almost there, but still learning, that's something they're going to value and take.
So it's not only about the title, but it's never about the title. It's also about the opportunity to grow and to learn more that comes with that. That's a wise suggestion. Thank you very much. Philippe is asking you, we're almost done. Philippe is asking you, hello there. Well, hello you, Philippe. Hi, I have the job to get a company which is 100% working project-oriented to get everyone from the CEO to developers to think in product and not project. Do you have ideas as how to help Philip?
I wouldn't mind starting on that one. I've done.
Jump right in.
Yeah, I've done that, and I'm currently doing something similar to that. I wouldn't say it's necessarily just focused on project, but if you don't have a product mindset first company and you're trying to shift to it, so you started with an engineering focus or maybe a sales driven kind of company, you have to really do your work as a product manager to set up. I'm using jobs to be done as a framework, but really anything that you can really say this is what the customer value is, and really migrating the mindset of what is success, right? So in a project-led company, success is delivering the project relative to the requirements. That's it. I got a set of requirements: time, cost, quality. I need to get it done by XYZ time, right? I did that. I must be successful. Where that we all know that that's not really a business, right? The business is there's a small part, which is a project of delivering maybe a feature or new functionality or an innovation, but that's actually where it starts. You actually set your success out into the future and say, with a SMART goal or some sort of OKR or whatever metric that you're using, to come back and say, in 3 months from now, we expect to increase revenue by 7% or 50% or increase retention or whatever the case you need to do. And this is how we're measuring it. And so the project is to get us into the position that we can measure it and see that change, and that the organization understands from a product perspective that once the say code or innovation or change has been shipped, the organization isn't done with that value. You actually have to go out and measure it and come back and relate that internally, going, okay, so that did work or that didn't work. Let's get the engineers, or if you use a triad, the top engineer, top designer on your squad, or whatever the case may be, and you sit down and you go, so this didn't work. This is what we thought, and this is why and where and how. And really, so it gets some shifting to going on the next project. It might take you a year, but all of a sudden you're going to see the switch. Mentally, they're going, okay, what's the next thing we can do to drive that metric? What's the next thing we can do to change that value proposition from a customer? And then slowly the project mindset fades away because they realize those will fail, right? There's no success in the actual project delivery. That's just a setup for the next stage, which is where you measure success.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just a few weeks ago, we had an Ask Me Anything session where we talked just about setting and building product culture. So I just made sure to include a link to it in the comments. Check this out and also follow on Lance's advice and tips, because that worth a lot. Now, we are already 3 minutes after we were supposed to be closing the session, but there is a fantastic question submitted here. So I want to challenge us all to answer it very, very quickly, because Ronald is asking, how do you value or weight the importance of roles of PMs, designers, and technical leads in shaping the products that you guys build? It's a challenging question. We're going to answer it very quickly because we don't have much time, but it's worth the time that we will invest in it. And if you want to jump in, I will. So David, Carsten, and Lance, what do you think?
We can go in that order.
To me, a successful product and shaping the products, you can take pride as a product manager, but at the end, it's a team effort. So I think you should celebrate with all of the above, but also with engineering and with marketing. And it's kind of, how do I measure if the success is only because of a designer or a product manager? I don't care. I care that it's successful or not, and it's a team effort. To be honest, I mean, what happens if you launch your next product and you just took pride only on the product team? How do you want other teams to collaborate with you? To me, celebrate successes whenever possible, even small successes, but do it with all the other teams.
So I wouldn't weight it at all. I would say it's always a cross-functional contribution with all of them, and you cannot say that one of them has a bigger weight or a bigger value to the whole stuff. So it's every time about 3 different opinions and 3 different views on the same problem, and this is the real value behind it. So bringing 3 people together, cross-functional, having different views and opinions, and then they can decide the best. This is the key, I would say.
Absolutely.
My real quick, it might be a little contrarian, but first it depends. But I really think it all comes down to what's the accountability, right? What is the accountability you put on the designer? That's what they have to deliver. So you weight those tasks and their opinion on those tasks a little bit higher than the others, but everybody else has an input to them, right? And what is the engineer's task, the lead engineers? What are they accountable for? Not just responsible, but that's what their job or their performance for that quarter or that year is on. Then you need to allow them to push that. They have all of the underlying responsibilities that you can't see as a participating squad member. And then what are the accountability you put on the product manager, right? Let those teams then self-organize how that manages, right? I have one product designer that he loves to take on more of the tactical stuff, and that's great. That works for me. If I move over to a different squad or have a different designer, they may want to act differently. But at the end of the day, they have the same accountability. All the stuff in the middle, like David and Carsten said, really shouldn't matter, right? Just ship success.
Just ship success, guys. I think this is the best closing sentence that we could have for this session. From Canada, Lance Douglas, Group Product Manager at Vitruvi Software and Product League Mentor. From Tel Aviv, David Habusha, Senior Vice President of Product at Iron Scales and Product League Mentor. And from Berlin, Carsten Bokemeyer, Head of Product Management at Greater and Product League Mentor. I am Moriakis. These fellows, this is Product League. Thank you so much, everyone in the audience, for watching this session, learning with us, and becoming a better product manager with us. Can't wait to have you in the audience in our next event. And dear mentors, I just had a fantastic time having all of you on our stage and learning with and from you. And I hope that you had as much fun as I had.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Until next time. Yeah, until next time. Bye-bye, leaguers.